Hey, did you know Americans stop or prevent a violent crime 1 to 3 million times per year with a gun? That's right. Studies from Florida State and the CDC and the Crime Prevention Research Center shows the guns are used to protect lives 25 times more often than when they were used to take a life. 25 times. And that estimate is on the low end. And if you believe that good people deserve the best tools to defend themselves and their families, then you should be a member of the San Diego County Gun Owners. San Diego County Gun Owners makes it easy to connect with the community that's fighting to defend and restore your Second Amendment. Become a member today. It's only $10. Go to SDCGO.org/join to become a member.
What's up, Dave?
Kicking chickens, buddy. How about you?
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Alicia, how are you?
Yes, sir. Doing well.
How come you're all dressed up?
Yeah, you're all dressed up.
Got a place to go? Someplace to go?
Usually you're coming off
Sometimes.
the range.
Yeah.
Usually not today.
Yeah,
No.
there's usually...
I think that's what it is. This is actually how she usually looks, which is we usually see her when she's coming off the range. Like, this is just normal.
That's not how she looks when she comes off the range.
No, that's what I'm saying. So she didn't come off the range.
Oh,
so we're like,
see.
why are you also dressed up? She's like, man, this is just
This
how I
is
normally
normal.
look.
Did you go to brunch or something?
No.
What's
It's
beautiful?
a normal weekend.
Go to a
I
car
had
show?
Nothing fancy.
What about you? You don't look too fancy.
I don't. I'm
it's every
I'm
day.
definitely not too fancy.
What watch are you wearing today?
I had the. This is my my Tissot Gentleman. Yeah, I love it. I like this one. You know what I like best about
How'd
this
you
one?
like the other one?
I like that one too.
That's
Is
a nice one.
it's like I know, right? It's like a deep blue.
Yeah.
So if I'm wearing black, it looks black. If I'm wearing blue, it looks
It does.
blue. Yeah, it's nice.
And are you saying that right? Tissot?
Tissot. Tissot.
So?
It's Tissot, but it's pronounced Tissot.
Okay. We ought to do a watch show.
I know, right?
It'll get people to
See if
dedicate watches.
get people to watch.
Oh, by the way, folks, go to Instagram, watch_watch.
No,
Watch.
watcher.
Watching.
Oh, is it
Oh,
watching?
What? It's either watcher or watching. I forget.
Yeah, we'll play with it.
So I went and I had like the best eye doctor experience.
Is that why you're wearing glasses?
No, I'm wearing glasses because we're going to go over this gun violence reduction community needs assessment thing again.
You
and I
have
got
to be able to read
it. But Aaron Werner is an ophthalmologist out in El Cajon. He's actually a member of ours. He's been a member for forever. It's for San Diego County Gun Owners. And I finally went in. And have you been to an eye doctor in this decade?
Sure.
Have you?
Yeah.
The last time I went, I think like Reagan was in the White House, and they'd like look at my eyes. They'd say, "Here, read this chart," and that'd be about it. They'd say, "Eat more carrots."
Send you packing.
and that would be it. They had like I spent like 15, 20 minutes like doing these machines,
Did you get the
and
poof?
tests and stuff.
Did you get the poof?
I don't remember that.
That's where it blows air into your
Oh, yeah.
eyeball.
You'd remember.
I don't
Yes,
know if
you
I remember
would.
that.
That's
They-
for
yeah, they did.
Yeah, it's for glaucoma.
Glaucoma.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
You just,
It was like I had like the best experience. They gave me some drops. My eyes have never felt better.
yeah.
Anyway,
So what'd they say? Can you see?
I can see.
Did they have to make any adjustments on your vision?
No, I got
Because
to.
you are getting older.
I know. I hate that. I have to go. I have to go back in 2 weeks, and they're going to clean out my ducts.
Really? Your ducks are jacked up.
Apparently, I have clogged ducts.
Don't you hate that when that happens?
She said that Dr. Brittany, who was wonderful, she said that everybody. This is happening to everybody because we're all staring at our phones and our computers,
And your ducks are getting full.
and we're not blinking anymore. Is what she
I
was
blink a
telling
lot.
me. I thought you were just flirting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was.
No. I would do that with Alicia, not you. You
We
see
can-
how dressed up she looks?
I know.
I
she's
know.
beautiful.
She's got to do this more often.
So, Michael,
Yes.
I'm going to set you up for this one. Can you look outside super quick out the window?
All right.
Is the rain
Oh.
clearly gone?
Is the rain clearly gone?
Yes, I'm setting you up for a joke.
I don't know.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes, I can see now that the rain has gone.
I can see clearly now.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
that didn't
Right.
work.
I thought he was going to say, okay, does it look better now? Or does it look better?
Better like this?
Does it
One?
look better
I
like
should've done
that?
that one.
One or two.
I hate that test. I said, don't give me that test. I can't tell.
So we're going to talk about, when we get done talking about eyes, we're going to talk about La Mesa is, they're trying to revisit some anti-gun regulation that they tried about a year ago and got denied. Well, I think they might have the votes this time, so they're going to try to do it. So we're going to talk about it. We need people to show up on Tuesday night.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, we're going to talk. We're going to talk about an interview I did with Sheriff Grady Judd, who was in. He's out of Florida and did a really, really interesting.
I love him.
Interview. He was great.
I love him.
He was very interesting. We're going to talk more about the San Diego gun violence listening sessions. The San Diego County Gun Violence Reduction Community Needs Assessment, because we barely scratched the surface on that.
Right.
In fact, by the way, the La Mesa thing, tune in tomorrow to KUSI, 8 a.m. or shortly after 8 a.m. I'm going to talk about it there because it's a pretty big deal. And then the curtain call, we're going to talk about Scott Peterson. Who was not Scott Peterson. There was like a Scott Peterson.
Not the Lacey and Scott Peterson.
Yeah.
Different.
Whole different.
1 T versus 2.
Yeah.
Different guy.
But he was just acquitted.
Correct.
They tried to bring him up on, was it criminal charges?
Yeah, negligence.
Because he was was he a cop or a security guard?
He was a resource officer. So he was law enforcement working within the school.
And the school was Marjorie Stoneman. Right?
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that.
Marjorie
This will be
Stoneman Douglas.
interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I was on Rifle Supply up in Huntington Beach. If you guys haven't checked out Rifle Supply, I got to tell you, Rifle Supply is a very cool shop. They do a bunch of custom manufacturing. They're up in Huntington Beach, which is far enough to where folks in San Diego probably haven't heard of them, but close enough to where you got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Rifle Supply had me on their podcast on Friday night, which was super interesting. And they've decided that they're going to sponsor a table at Gun Prom.
Nice.
And they're going to donate a couple of custom jobbies that they do. So that was very, very interesting. Speaking of, get your tickets, Gun Prom. It's right around the corner. It's September 16th, but we're going to stop selling tickets like September 1st. So less than 2 months away. And there's a early bird special going on right now, $99 for an individual ticket. So grab your tickets. All you got to do is go to gunprom.com. Gunprom.com. Loads of fun. If you've ever been, you know how fun it is. If you've never been, then this is your year. Join us. You're coming, right, Alicia?
I'll be there.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. And then what else are we going to talk about here? I think the Grady Judd thing is going to be super interesting.
Sam the Gunman.
Oh, yeah, of course, Sam the Gunman's going to I thought last week was his best performance ever.
I couldn't agree more.
I think we need to expand it. I think we need to throw in one non-gun, just random weird fact.
Cinderella
Paired up.
one was
Yeah.
kind of weird.
Yeah.
For sure.
The Cinderella one was
Trying
awesome.
to stress this kid out. He's already under stress trying to be perfect. Good God.
I thought that was super interesting. I've been telling that little factoid all week.
Me too.
All week. How is that never? I'm 47. I've heard about glass slippers for 47 years.
Me too.
It's never occurred to me that doesn't make any sense.
No. I knew they'd hurt your feet, but I never knew that.
Maybe that's why it never occurred to me. I was like, women will do anything for.
Okay, so we're going to do My Cousin Vinny and see if he knows the timing and points of a 327 Chevy with a 4-barrel.
If it's from that movie, he'll probably.
And he'll say, well, they didn't have a 4-barrel on a 327.
That's actually,
Chevy.
that's my old man's favorite movie. So I
Is it
know.
really?
Yeah, it's his
gonna
favorite
Oh,
movie.
mine
So
too.
I
I
know
love
he's-
that movie. Hey, if you own a gun in California, you should have an attorney that specializes in California gun laws on your speed dial. Because if you ever have legal matters that involve firearms, you need California's firearm lawyer, John Dillon. Especially if you have questions on red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant. Our trusted firearms attorney is John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Put his number on your phone right now. It's 760-642-7150. That's John Dillon, California firearms lawyer, 760-642-7150.
Special shout out to John Petrolino, the Penn Patriot, who's listening to us right now in the car of Charlie Cook, riding shotgun with Charlie. So I guess John Petrolino is literally riding shotgun with Charlie right now, and they're listening. They just sent me a picture of the two of them enjoying our show thoroughly. Two fine gentlemen. John Petrolino is going to be here for Gun Prom, but Charlie can't make it this year. I'm so crushed. My heart is broken.
Can we schedule it?
We can reschedule the whole thing. Oh well, Charlie, you're gonna have to make that up to us and join us every year from here on out. After this, this is the only one you can miss. You get one mulligan.
That's it.
Yeah. So, are you? But you're coming.
I'll be there.
All right, cool. You got it. What are you doing? Which table are you on? Or have you haven't figured it out?
I
yet?
haven't done it yet. Nope.
Yeah, you just
I don't
gotta
have
do
any
it.
friends.
Okay.
Gotta
well,
find some.
Hey, when's gun prom?
September 16th, gunprom.com.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm inviting somebody since I.
You're texting someone right now?
Of course.
So
Because he is an automotive guy that we did a tribute to
Yeah.
Peter Starr, who passed away.
Who's Peter
last-
Starr?
He's a videographer, motorcyclist. He's 80 years old.
Oh, wow.
He's world famous. He was the first guy to put a camera on a motorcycle. He's done movies, and he passed away, so we dedicated an hour to him.
Oh, cool.
And Norm is one of the world's greatest journalists out there when it comes to motorcycles and cars. So he just says, hey, I'd like to go to a SHOT Show. I've never been. He says, I've got a 450 Marlin, a 458 SOCOM,
Wow.
and a Marlin 1895 SBL,
Wow.
which I have no idea what that meant.
Well, I think those are three different guns.
I think they are.
The
I got that figured out. I got that.
two of
part.
them are Marlins, and I think the 458 SOCOM's probably an AR.
Okay.
And a 458 SOCOM is awesome.
Yeah.
I got mine, my 458 SOCOM upper from Rifle Supply.
Oh, you have
Farmington
it.
Beach,
You have
which
one.
we're just talking about Rifle Supply.
And what was the date of the prom again?
September 16th. But a 458 SOCOM is twice the size of a standard AR round. And the reason I know that is because it was designed so that you can put a 458 SOCOM cartridge in an unaltered AR magazine.
Ah.
So a 30-round AR magazine, normal, 5.56 magazine, holds around 10 458 SOCOM with no alterations. You don't have to do anything to change it. They did that on purpose.
When's the last time you shot it?
It's been a while. It's been a while. My shoulder's still recovering.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a
tank.
Oh yeah, I swear the rounds are it's like a little tube of lipstick.
Wow.
They're
You
huge.
got to see John Wick 4 because that's what he uses.
Is that the one? Is that now John Wick 4? Was that the one where he shot a bunch of people?
Yeah.
Oh, that's 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I wish I had the ammo. You know what I want? I want his Kevlar suit.
He had a Kevlar suit.
Yeah, and all he has to do is put it up like that, and you can shoot him with anything. It won't hurt him.
Oh, that's how Kevlar works.
I think so.
Good luck with that. And when you get it, can I tell?
You can shoot me. Let's see if I do it well as he did.
I'll yell catch first. So one of the things we do is, we have we can really only we'll do a couple segments with people that we interview. But you can really, they're 15-minute segments, but you can really only get about 10, maybe 10 and a half minutes out of that 15 minutes to interview people so we can touch on some things and get real specific. But when we want to get deep, when we really want to talk to folks and figure out what makes them tick and really hear about, what they've accomplished and that sort of thing, we do Gun Owners Radio Magnum. We do a Magnum episode where I get to talk to them for an hour and a half.
Why do you change your voice?
Because it's Magnum.
I was just checking.
And we talk to them for about an hour and a half, and uninterrupted, and we really get to, it's long form, so you get to really hear about who they are and what makes them tick and that sort of thing. And if you go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/gunownersradio, and look under the Magnum section, you'll see Sheriff Grady Judd. He is in Florida.
Yeah.
And his county, he's very outspoken, first off. There's a couple of things that he's known for. One of them is he's very outspoken on Second Amendment issues. So a lot of people have heard.
Unapologetically.
Unapologetically, I would say I think he even makes gun people uncomfortable sometimes. You know what I mean? He kind of pushes it to the edge. I think that we're conditioned here in San Diego to kind of be a little timid about the way we talk about Second Amendment issues.
True.
And when we hear the sheriff of a county in Florida he doesn't have to worry about being timid at all, you kind of go, wait a minute, don't, that's not how you're supposed to say it.
Yeah, but he's saying it the way you should say it.
I guess, I guess that's a way of putting it.
Well, you've been,
sure.
we have been so browbeaten in the state of California. I mean, you almost don't want to, I don't want to offend. I don't want to say something. I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it's very direct. I think that even I was a little I was a little, I don't want to say turned off, but I was a little concerned. I thought, I don't know.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know. I'm not a cowboy.
No, you're not. You're very pretty correct.
Well, I have an enormous amount of respect for human life, and that's why I'm a big proponent for the Second Amendment, because I think life is so important that we should protect it. You know, as much as we can. And I think I was a little turned off. I guess I'll just say it. I was a little turned off by the way he would kind of talk about. I don't ever want to use lethal force, and the way he would talk about using lethal force was a little
shoot first, ask questions later.
Well, I don't know if he actually said that, but it was a little callous.
But I mean, it's kind of on that
that
vein.
And that's one thing if you're talking to your buddy at the range and they kind of make a joke, but it's another thing when it's a sheriff of a county. So, but it made me more curious to talk to him. And one of the other things he's really known for is he does press conferences saying, "Hey, here's who we arrested last week."
I man after my own heart.
So basically saying, hey, we're going to make you famous. If you break some laws, we're going to make sure everybody here knows that you're the type of person in our community that breaks laws.
See, but we won't do that here.
Definitely not.
Because we don't want to offend. And let's face it. I mean, most states, they're more want to protect the criminal than the victim. I mean...
And so he made that point. So I got to tell you, I interviewed him for about an hour, and he really sold me. First off, he's very intelligent.
Well, he's a cop.
Well,
I thought
we're just going to leave that alone. I think it's fair to say that that it could go either way, right? I don't know if Some of the police officers I've met, some of the law enforcement professionals I've met are very intelligent and thoughtful.
And then some aren't.
But that's probably like every...
Starts with an H.
Well, that's probably like every industry.
Of course.
But he was very intelligent. He has been training to be a cop since he was a teenager. It was his first job. He worked his way up.
Wow. Dedicated.
Truly dedicated. Very educated.
He seen Red Dawn, didn't he?
No, we didn't.
You asked him.
You didn't bring it up. But his statistics speak for themselves. He has a lower. First off, Florida has a lower crime rate than most places in the country. And having a lower crime rate than California is an accomplishment, because California, it's like apples and oranges, because California doesn't. We coddle criminals. They don't get, half of them don't get arrested. They certainly don't get prosecuted.
And we can't afford ammo.
Right. So he has very low crime statistics, and he was very adamant about, hey, we have a great county, Polk County.
Polk County.
And you move here, and you will be safe, and you can raise your kids, and we will protect you, and we will respect your rights, and we will live in harmony. But do not come here and vote, the opposite way.
Don't bring your crap with us if you don't believe in what we believe in.
He was very adamant about that.
Well, can you blame him?
I don't blame him at all.
Yeah.
And like I said, this guy is a professor. He actually teaches criminal justice. And one of the things he did was he was a part of a team that analyzed the Marjorie Stoneman shooting, right? Which was not in his county. It was in a county,
right,
a couple counties over, and he was very critical of the response. Yeah, very critical.
Yeah.
Well, but where you kind of go, well, gee, yeah, of course. But one of the things that I think police officers are guilty of is they protect everybody. They kind of go, well, gee, we're all going to stick together. We're going to protect the the blue line, right?
Kind of like the government.
Well, they are the government. Police officers are the government. Yeah. And he didn't do that. He said, nope, huge mistakes made.
Yeah.
It should have been this way. It should have been that way. And people should get fired. And
I was going to say, was he? Yeah, okay. Well, we'll talk about that.
He was adamant. He was adamant about it.
He was the C block.
He was. Yeah. We're going to talk about the Alicia's section.
I like how they do that. The B block, the A block.
I don't know what do you mean?
Well, if you watch any TV shows, like then they say, okay, we're going to talk about that in the C block.
I don't know what that means.
Well, because from 4 to 4:15 is the A block, and from 4:15 to 4:30 is the B block.
I didn't know that.
See what you learn when you come to our show.
That is definitely something I've learned. So, But check it out. His name's
Grady
Judd, not JD Grudd. That's a whole different interview.
Yes, it is.
Grady Judd, sheriff of Polk County, Florida. I thought it was extremely interesting. I went in not sure how I felt.
You came out happy?
And on the other side, he definitely made me a big fan. I asked him. I thought I asked him a few hard questions, and he responded really well. And I have a lot of respect for him, and I have a lot of respect for the job he did in a tough state.
So I'm curious. I've not watched the Magnum episode yet. I will. I've watched all his press releases. I've seen all the YouTube videos. Does he keep that same Southern persona outside of? Okay.
That's the other thing.
He has like a Southern spin.
I'm going to be totally honest right now, and I'll probably get some hate mail. I grew up in Florida, and I'm never completely impressed by Southern accents.
I thought you grew up in Hawaii.
No, I went to high school in Hawaii.
Oh.
So, I think that when someone has a Southern accent, I automatically make some assumptions about, I don't know, how smart is this guy? No, this guy's extremely smart. He's very intelligent. I know. I don't know how many people. If you have a Southern accent, I'm sorry.
Is he coming to gun prom?
No, it's 3,000 miles away.
Wouldn't that be something?
Well, maybe we'll interview him. I'll tell you, he's a national figure.
Yeah.
So
but
he'd
be
pretty
fun.
busy.
He'd be fun to have a gun prom.
Yeah, but check him out.
All right, Orange County Gun Owners is dedicated to preserve and restoring Orange County's self-defense rights. And if you live in Orange County and want to help and defend and restore the Second Amendment, join OCGunOwners.com/join. Orange County Gun Owners is the organization to help get more pro-Second Amendment officials elected. Become a member today. OCGunOwners.com/join. I'm in row 14, seat 11 at any theater. Don't ever sit in that chair.
Why?
Because that's where I sit.
Dave's seat.
It's dead in the middle. It's perfectly with sound and vision.
So what is it? Why haven't they changed? Last time I went and saw a movie was the first time I saw a movie in a theater in like 10 years. And they were all like lazy boy recliners, and everything's changed.
And you have to pick your specific seat. You just can't walk in.
Row 14.
I don't know if they have
11.
I don't know if they have 11 in a row. They're like,
Oh, yes, they do.
all right.
Have you been to one of those Papadopoulos or whatever the hell it is?
They're all doing that now.
With the food and the booze.
But yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
The big problem is when you walk in and say, "Do you want a blanket?" That's a dead giveaway. You're not going to stay awake throughout the whole movie. They should never give you a blanket.
All right. So big news. About a year ago, not a couple years ago, we helped get Laura Lothian elected to La Mesa City Council, and we were truly the difference that got her elected in a tough area. La Mesa its demographics has changed. It used to be a solidly Republican town, and it is not solidly Republican anymore. There have been a lot of folks that have moved in that are have different views.
Who's the mayor over there?
Dr. A. He's got a big long
Papadopoulos.
Yeah, he's got a big long last name.
Looks like your brother.
Well, there's a lot of good.
He's from Greece.
There's a lot of good-looking people on the Mesa. You're right.
Yeah, he's been on KOSI like 3 times now.
So, and they're now a. Let me think. Well, he's really truly an independent.
I think so.
He's not Democrat. He's not Republican. He's certainly not pro, but he's certainly not anti-gun. He voted the right way. But they just lost, like, for example, Bill Baber was solidly Republican. He's no longer on the city council. And there are some really extremist folks on that council now.
Yeah.
And they don't like guns. So Laura Lothian helped lead the charge, and we got that taken care of. It was a storage law that was introduced and died. But now with Bill Baber gone, there's a very real chance that they're going to
bring it back.
Well, they brought it back, but there's a very real chance that they're going to vote it in. So they brought it back. It's on the agenda. It's item number 11.2, and this Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the La Mesa City Council at their town hall or their City Hall. It's they're going to introduce a draft safe gun storage ordinance for consideration. Discussion and possible direction on a draft ordinance adding La Mesa Municipal Code Chapter 10.30 regulating the residential storage of Firearms and conducting an associated public information program, Councilmember Shue, Councilmember Dillard. Shue is the extremist I'm talking about. He's not just a Democrat. He's not just left of center. He's an extremist weirdo. And he's definitely anti-gun. So, the whole thing, back when it was 2008, when Heller versus DC, that whole case was about forcing people to keep their guns locked up or inoperable in their home. And the Supreme Court said you can't do that. So everybody's wondering, well, gee, I don't have to show up, I don't have to do anything because the Supreme Court ruled. That's not how it works. We still got to show up. They changed it just enough to where they think it's not quite exactly what the Supreme Court was ruling on, so they think it's constitutional. Now, the main thing that has, and they're saying they're going to research it and whatever. All they're going to do is it's already prepared. Del Mar passed it, Solana Beach passed it, City of San Diego passed it. That's just here in San Diego. They've passed it up and down in California. And it's a storage law that basically says unless you're touching your gun, you have to keep it inoperable, locked up, et cetera, et cetera. So unless you're actually touching it. So you can't keep it on the nightstand. You know what I mean?
But you can keep it on your hip.
Yes, you can keep it on your hip. But what if you're taking a shower? What if you're getting ready for bed?
Well, you wash yours in the sink.
Well,
how bad could that be?
And how are they going to enforce this thing? Were they going to go door to door? How are they going to? Law enforcement doesn't like this, but they don't care.
Yeah, well, of course not. They just need it in the event they need it to prosecute.
They do, and what they lead with. Guess what they lead with? Why do you think that what's their number one reason that we need to do this?
Something to do with the riots?
Save the children.
Okay.
Right? But what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
there's already laws on the books.
There's already laws on the books. This has nothing. This will not enhance anything when it has to do with kids. In California, if you store a firearm in such a manner that a kid has access to it or can gain access to it, that is illegal. That's already a state law.
Right. So can you sue them?
Well, it doesn't matter. We're activists.
No, okay.
We're not lawyers. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if we can sue them or not sue them. What matters is we have to show up and stop this. Okay. We have to get in front of them and say, hey, look, this is not La Mesa maybe has changed demographics, but not this much. We still have passionate gun owners here, and here are the problems with this. Now, who does this affect most? I would say it affects most a single woman living in her home, no kids, right? And she has a firearm to defend herself from violent crime. She can't leave it on her nightstand anymore. She can't leave it on the counter when she's, taking a shower, getting ready for bed. Let's say she does see something outside, or some peeping Tom or something like that. She calls the cops. Cops comes over. Her gun's out.
Boom.
But you know what I mean? Like that's the other thing is all these municipalities that have passed this, there's zero benefit. Nothing good has happened. There hasn't been anything that's helped in any way. There hasn't been. It's never even found anybody. They haven't prosecuted anybody. No one's been guilty of this. No one. It's completely useless. The whole point of these kinds of regulations are to make people. It's advancing a narrative. They want the public to know that guns are dangerous and gun owners are dangerous people. That is the point of this whole thing. The Brady organization, Moms Demand Action, when they sit down and figure out what are we going to do today? What's our big push going to be this year? Let's do a storage thing because it's hard to argue against, and it reaffirms the opinion that guns and gun owners are dangerous.
So is the public going to have an opportunity to speak?
6:00 Tuesday. We need you to show up. We need you to be prepared. We need you to be polite. We need you to be professional. And we need to flood them with positive remarks and about gun owners and say, hey, this is way too far. This is way too intrusive. Is
this the example you would give?
I think there's a number of things to talk about. Talk about the single mom. Or not the single mom. Talk about the single woman, right? Because a single mom would already have to store her gun, differently because she has, the kid couldn't have access to it. That's already state law. Talk about the single woman who's trying to defend herself, right? talk about the fact that this doesn't do anything to enhance protection against kids.
Can you ask him a question? And I'm just like, okay, if somebody breaks in and a robber
they won't
city
answer.
council, they can't answer. It's
based.
They really can't comment on anything that's not, like if short answer is no.
They won't talk on scenario.
They just won't. They just say, here's your 2 minutes. Say whatever you need to do. We're not going to have a dialogue.
Yeah, because it's not going to make any difference anyway, because we're still going to do what we want to do.
Well, no, because they can't have a dialogue. If you were on the agenda, like, hey, we're going to talk to Bob Smith. He's a professional. We're going to have a dialogue. That'd be one thing. But
I see. But the general public, you can't.
Yeah, but I believe that we could have an effect on this. I wouldn't ask people to show up if I didn't think we'd have an effect, and I think we could. Dr. A, the mayor, voted the right way. We need one more vote. We need one more vote.
So the fact that this is, if anybody can come from any part in the county.
Another good point. Anybody from any part of the county, you can show up and talk. If they're going, they always ask, where are you from? Mm-hmm. Your answer is, I decline to answer. You do not have to tell them whether or not you live in La Mesa. Okay. And if they say, oh, you need to tell us if you live in La Mesa, you say, no, I don't. The Brown Act, that's one of the, I don't really like the Brown Act, but that's one part of the Brown Act that's crystal clear. You do not have to tell them whether you're from La Mesa or live in La Mesa or not live in La Mesa. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't live in La Mesa, I don't want to show up or whatever. No, show up, talk. You don't have to tell them whether or not you're from La Mesa. Just show up in mass.
You know what the address is?
Well, it's just Google City Hall, La Mesa. Here's the thing.
I got you.
If you can't Google if you can't figure out how to get to City Hall in La Mesa, I don't want you there. If you can't get on Google,
I was helping them poor old gun owners out there.
All right, Dave, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
8130 Allison Avenue in La Mesa.
See, I would never be able to find Allison Avenue. If it's not La Mesa Boulevard.
Well, and what they're going to do, okay, so key items from the draft resolution defines locked container and trigger lock pursuant to the California Penal Code, renders it unlawful and infraction to keep a firearm within any residence unless the firearm is stored in a locked container or trigger lock with limited exception. Provides for a limited exception if the firearm is carried on the body of a person who's an authorized user of the firearm or in their immediate control. Mm-hmm. So again, it has to be locked. It has to be inoperable. Mm-hmm.
Unless it's not on you.
Unless you're actually touching it.
Okay.
So again, what about when a single woman is in the shower, when she's absolutely most vulnerable? Mm-hmm. What about when a single woman is, getting ready for bed or sleeping, when she is absolutely 100% most vulnerable? Mm-hmm. What then? I'd argue that that's who's going to be affected mostly in La Mesa. Mm-hmm. They're not affecting, criminals. Criminals aren't going to live by this thing, right? And if we go back, we're going to talk about the San Diego County Gun Violence Reduction Community Needs Assessment Comprehensive Report. We're going to talk about that. But what we learned is what we already knew: 30% of people who are killed and there's a gun involved, it's a homicide. 70% it's a suicide. Gun storage doesn't help either of those things.
And how can you tell me what to do within my home?
Well, I think that's an important concept. But I also think that's not so they don't care. They absolutely want to tell you what you're going to do in your own home.
But you can't. That's my home. I can do what I want.
But they think you can, and they think they should.
You have to show up on Tuesday and let them know that.
You can, but I just don't know if that'll resonate.
I'm bringing a Rottweiler.
Okay.
Hey, have you ever wanted to get a pilot's license? Here in San Diego, pilots can fly almost every day, which makes San Diego one of the best places to learn how to fly in the world. Learn to fly with San Diego Flight Training International? Check out this deal just for gun owners radio listeners. 1 hour ground school, 1 hour of flight with instructor. Yep, you get to fly. Normally $400 for listeners is $350. Getting started is easy. Give them a call at 858-569-1822. Learn to fly with SDFTI. Call today, 858-569-1822.
So Rich and I, when we were preparing for the show, actually when I say we, I mean Rich, when he was preparing for the show, because he does so much to help us. He's an amazing producer. He does a great job. Found a clip of somebody talking about activism in general, and I thought it was really, really phenomenally interesting. And Rich pulled the clip, and we're gonna take a listen to it, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about it. So there's actually someone speaking in front of like 100 people, and it's pretty interesting. So, Brendan, go ahead and play the clip.
I always like to do a Second Amendment check. Can we do a Second Amendment check real quick? Stand up if you believe in the Second Amendment. Stand up. Okay? Now, I want you to remain standing if you own a firearm that is yours, that you picked out, your daddy didn't pick it out for you, your brother didn't pick it out for you. Remain standing. I want you to keep standing if that firearm is on you right now, not in your car, not at your house. Now, I want you to remain standing if you've been to the gun range in the last 30 days to practice with your firearm. Next, I'd like you to remain standing if you've ever testified in a hearing in defense of the Second Amendment. If you feel attacked right now, it's your conviction calling you a hypocrite.
A room full of conservatives. A room full of people who talk on the internet constantly about how the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. And they can't be bothered to carry their guns. They can't be bothered to practice with their guns. And they can't be bothered to testify in hearings. When the Second Amendment goes away, it's not going to be anybody's fault but yours.
Strong language. And I think it's a little bit of tough love. And honestly, I can't remember who the lady is. But man, was she passionate, and I think she was right on. I can't tell you how many people, I was talking about it. One of the things I was talking about was on Rifle Supply's podcast was, the fact that I watched for weeks. I don't really watch the news anymore. You know that. I stopped watching the news.
I know.
By the way,
you're very boring.
Oh God, no. Watching the news is very boring. It's the best decision. One of the best. I'm honestly going to say that one of the top 10 decisions in my life was deciding to stop watching news. I'm not even, no hyperbole. So I don't watch news anymore, but some of this stupid stuff that used to,
get you crazy.
That's on the news. Some of it makes its way to me, like the balloon that they shot down that went over the Chinese balloon or whatever, that kind of made its way. The other one was how everybody was really mad for like a month at Bud Light. And one of the things we talked about on Rifle Supply was everybody, everybody got real fired up over Bud Light.
Yeah, now it's Ben and Jerry's.
Really? I hadn't heard it.
Well, you haven't heard Ben and Jerry's?
Well, so they're all fired up over this stuff. But in Imperial Beach, we needed people to show up. And only about 10 people showed up. They're trying to open up a gun shop. We're trying to get people to show up in La Mesa. How many people are going to show up?
None.
Well,
or a very small.
A handful, right? But how many people are mad at Bud Light?
Oh, I'm really mad.
They're so mad at Bud Light.
And now Ben and Jerry's.
So this
I know
lady,
you want to know about Ben and Jerry's.
I honestly don't care.
Yes, you do.
I really don't.
Because you eat Ben and Jerry's.
I don't eat Ben and Jerry's.
They don't make spaghetti.
They don't make steak.
Oh, that's true too.
So I wonder if they actually might make like a spaghetti flavor, but this lady's point was we all, talk about it. Everybody talks about it, how important it is. And they wonder, well, gee, what happened? I got to leave California, got to move.
But see, that's the problem with conservatives. We don't act. We just sit there going, oh, well, all right. Or we complain, but we don't do anything.
Yeah, from my cold dead hand, but then it's not in their hand.
Exactly.
It's not on their
my
hand.
hand's not cold.
Yeah.
It's perfectly warm.
If you want, I'll let you know. Her name is Jerah Hutchins, and you can find her on Instagram at Clearing the Chamber.
Dude,
that's the name.
Alicia was way ahead of you like
sorry.
an hour ago.
Oh, man, I am far behind
But
you.
Mike didn't put his glasses on, so he couldn't see.
Gotcha.
So Alicia, what do you think about her words too strong?
No, not at all. So going into it, when I watched the video, going in, knowing that it was a conservative group, I honestly was shocked at how many people sat down. The first 2-3 rotations of what she asked, a large percentage of the population were still standing, and that was pretty awesome. And then they got to that last question, and only one woman stayed. That was it. One out of at least 100, if not more.
which is probably it's a 1%, which is probably high.
Yeah,
that's probably pretty high.
Right.
In the reality of it. So what's the problem? I actually got an email from someone who we put out the email saying, hey, we need you to show up. Yesterday we put out the email saying, hey, we need you to show up on Tuesday night. And I got an email back from someone, and it was like a paragraph where they explained to me that they didn't have time because they were spending time with their family. It took as much time to write the email as it would have
went.
I'm like, okay, I don't really know what to do with that, And I looked up to see if this person, donated or like, who is this person? It was zero, they'd never donated. They're not a member, but he took the time to tell me that he was going to not do anything on Tuesday night, in favor of the Second Amendment. And I thought, well, as if it's a choice, that hey,
let him know he can bring his kids.
Well, but I mean, we're asking him to take 2, maybe 3 hours out of his life. It's as if it's an actual choice that, hey, I'm either going to be a good family person or I'm going to go spend 3 hours at a meeting on a Tuesday night. No, you can do both. You can do both. And by the way, if you can't come to the meeting on Tuesday night, then why don't you send us $10 a month so that we can make sure that somebody is there to defend the Second Amendment on your behalf,
Okay, so I don't know if this is going to help or if you even think this is worthy, but it's on a side note. Carlsbad used to have a drag strip. It was world renowned. Everybody from the world came there for motocross racing and drag racing. They decided to close it and put an industrial park in. We busted our you-know-what to get people to go down to City Hall in Carlsbad, keep it open, don't take it away. Nobody showed up. But everybody
had an opinion.
Everybody had an opinion. And then afterwards, after the industrial park was in, I actually had a group call me and say, we just raised $3 million. We want to go fight the track and keep it. I go, it's gone.
Yeah.
Why didn't you come when we asked you to come?
Yeah.
And the auto community, the hot rod community, is just as tight as the gun community. But nobody showed up.
So what do they do with that $3 billion? Because you know what they could do? Get people elected or get people unelected.
Yeah.
Because somebody made that decision.
I know.
And I think that piece is extremely important too, that if let's say we go down and fail. Okay, let's say we go down and they pass this regulation. Okay, then there are at least 3, probably 4 seats that we need to get involved in La Mesa, and we need to take 3 or 4 scalps, political scalps.
No,
and replace them,
with the right people.
With the right people. And that's the most American thing you can do.
Right.
The entire point of the 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence, which, led to the Constitution. The entire point was, government, of the people, right? But the government's job is to protect your rights, not take it away or regulate. So the whole experiment is to be self-governed. That's the whole point of the country. And when I hear people say, well, I shouldn't have to put up, these regulations that they're putting on us are un-American. No, not fighting back against these regulations, not going and saying, hey, representative, this isn't how I want to live my life. We're in the country with self-government. That's the most American thing you can do.
But they know, the government, the cities, all these people know that they're not going to get any kickback. They were doing it with parents, about, you have no right to say what your kid learns in school until the mothers got up in arms
involved, right?
And got involved. And then all of a sudden, well, now mothers are terrorists and all that. But they never expected anybody to fight back. And that's what this La Mesa thing is going to be about.
Well, it is, and I guess I hear people say, "Well, gee, this is America. They shouldn't be passing these laws. Shouldn't have to do that."
Well,
no, in America, in the country of the self-governed, you have to show up. You have to govern yourself.
I like to add, for people that think, well, I don't live in La Mesa, it's not a big deal. If it goes in La Mesa, your town's going to be next.
Well, it's already happened, right? So Solana Beach, Del Mar, City of San Diego.
How'd that get through?
People didn't show up. We were there for City of San Diego. We were, we even gave a presentation and but didn't have the numbers. And then who got unelected for that? Nobody.
Right.
Nobody got unelected.
When they put a device on your car to charge you by the mile when you drive. That's going to go through like butter. Watch.
But the point is that
We don't get involved.
It's not a spectator. Being an American is not. You can't be a wallflower.
Right.
Being an American is the exact opposite. If you want to be a wallflower, you got to go to one of these parliamentary systems, where you don't have a Bill of Rights, and their whole where you get governed.
Well, what's the old saying? If you don't vote, you have no right to complain.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. And we got to go. You got to take about 10 steps further than just voting. But I like that this tough love has to happen more often. I think there was a shock value, in putting people on blast and saying, hey, you can't just sit there anymore.
I think that's when the mothers roared.
Right.
It made a difference. The husbands didn't. The mothers did.
There you go.
Inland Empire gun owners strive to be the ounce of prevention in the fight for your gun rights. How do they do it? They do it by fundraising and getting local pro-gun candidates elected. Become a member today. Go to iegunowners.com/join and join the growing number of responsible gun owners stepping up to defend our Second Amendment rights. That's iegunowners.com/join.
All right, subscribe and win. Subscribe to our email list and win some swag. If you go to gunownersradio.com and subscribe to our email list, you could win. This week's winner is Randy Smith. Congratulations, Randy. Email prizes at gunownersradio.com to claim your T-shirt or hat. Free training for members announced on the 9th. So if you could win CCW USA's CCW Next Steps with that's Joe Jeremici teaches that. Learn about all the other things you need to know about the CCW lifestyle after you get the permit with Joe Jeremici. We've talked about this a number of times, but CCW USA put this curriculum together specifically with Joe Jeremici, and it's an excellent class. If you have your CCW, highly recommend that you take this class.
Or even if you're considering it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Or if you want to see if you win, go to gunownersradio.com, subscribe, and you might win the class. Oh, wait, we got a winner.
I was going to say, aren't you going to mention?
It is the 9th. We're going to announce it on the 9th today. All right. We actually have a winner. So now you got to pay for the class, everybody. The winner is Mary Rose Stearns. Congratulations, Mary Rose Stearns. What a beautiful name, Mary Rose Stearns. Do we know Mary Rose?
I don't. Not yet.
You will.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna start calling her Mary Rose. I think that's nice that she. I wonder if she goes by Mary Rose or just Mary. All right, so we have a curtain call.
Yes, we do.
The latest news stories. Insightful perspectives. It's time for a curtain call.
Brendan.
I love Brendan.
I know.
Love it.
You should make that your doorbell.
I'm waiting for him to send it to me so I can.
Yeah, or put it on your phone.
Love it. So today, it's kind of hot in certain circles of the news. We know all about the unfortunate 2018 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting. Valentine's Day back in 2018. We've had a couple of parents on the show over time who had lost children in that shooting. And there was a trial for the school resource officer named Scott Peterson. And he was charged with a number of charges in relation to his actions or lack thereof during the school shooting. And just want to kind of talk a little bit about it, get your guys' thoughts, talk a little bit about what happened in the case and the outcome, and just some thoughts behind it. He was charged with 7 counts of felony child neglect for 4 children and persons that were killed, 3 that were injured. He faced also 3 additional counts of misdemeanor culpable negligence for 2 deaths and 1 injury. And then he also was charged with perjury for lying.
Wow. What did he lie about?
He lied about the number of shots that he thought that he heard initially.
I wonder how do you lie? How do they know he lied?
There was persons that came forward later that were told differently. So he had multiple stories he was telling different people.
Well, he wasn't the only person there during
He
this.
wasn't. But
Right.
it when it speaks to, well, what did you hear? That's within your own.
Well, no, I'm just curious
person.
because
But
getting it
he made-
wrong, getting it wrong and intentionally lying are 2 different things.
Correct.
So I have no doubt he could have gotten it wrong. But
Correct.
that's interesting that they tried to nail him on. And so what happened?
So he was acquitted of all charges.
Even the lying?
Every bit.
Every single bit.
You got to watch the news.
So I don't know.
So how do you feel about that?
So here's some things. So first of all, the reason they charged him is they charged him, and according to the charge of neglect, you have to be first thought of as a caregiver to be culpable and able to be charged with neglect. As in the position that he was law enforcement. That was one of the things that came out, is they did not deem him as a caregiver. He was a law enforcement officer. So he didn't have those charge of duties. He didn't have that responsibility. So that is why he was not able to be charged or found guilty on the neglect or the negligence. And so...
Which sounds accurate.
It does.
I mean,
it does.
Here's the thing. You have to, when you're talking about this, a lot of people are going to confuse what they think should have happened
Correct.
with the actual law.
Right.
And it sounds like that there just isn't a law in Florida that,
I don't know if there is anywhere, honestly.
Anywhere.
That would have made a difference.
That would find that he could be found guilty of.
Correct.
So they tried to kind of, jam this square peg into a round hole, and it didn't work.
But when law enforcement showed up, they went directly in and took care of the situation.
Which is what should have happened, but there is no law that this guy broke.
Right.
They tried to say, hey, so what's the next one? What's the next?
So kind of on the same token as what you guys are stating. So law enforcement, they're like LAPD back in the 50s coined the term to protect and serve. So law enforcement has a public duty to protect and serve, but not a legal duty. So they cannot be found legally liable for not stepping in and intervening. And it's really difficult to charge them or to find them legally at fault for these types of situations. It's one of those things where our heart wants to say that he did wrong, but legally speaking, there's not anything on the books that states that he did.
So that's why he was found not guilty of
Correct.
these laws, because none of these laws were. The one thing, the perjury thing, I'm surprised that of course, I don't know the details as far as behind the perjury thing, but that's so cut and dry. It's surprising they'd bring a charge that wasn't.
But I think it falls on what you said.
How do you prove that it was not a mistake?
Yeah.
Or did he really not go in?
I mean, you almost have to have like an email saying, hey, I lied, or some kind of, I mean, you have to have a real true smoking gun there.
Right.
So, thinking back and listening to the statements that were made in the case, and just the news stories and the coverage of what happened at the time of the shooting, he stated he didn't go in, and his explanation at the time was he didn't know where the shots were coming from.
Right.
So he heard shots. He stated he didn't go in because he didn't know. He thought the shots were coming from the outside. But where my mind keeps going, if you listen to what he did do, he went to a point of cover, drew his firearm, and he had it out, pointed at the building. If you think that the shots could have been coming from somewhere else, why are you pointing at that school? Why are you not looking behind you? Why are you not, kind of searching and trying to figure it out? If you really believe it could be coming from a different direction, you're exposing yourself. If he's providing himself cover between himself and the school.
So the only
building.
thing I can say in that respect is that he didn't know where the shots were coming from.
And he didn't even try to find out.
He didn't want to put his life on the line and walk out and possibly get shot himself. If he could have seen the shooter, again, this is all hypothetical, he may have had a different attitude. Like if he's seen the guy shooting into the classroom and he could physically see him shooting, would he have shot then? You don't know.
Well, you think of it two different ways. If he knew where the shots were coming from and was afraid to go in,
right?
That's my opinion. Kind of seems to be what his actions tell.
What
if you don't know where the shots are coming from and you suspect they're coming from somewhere outside, I would imagine he would want to go in to where the kids are to protect the kids.
Yeah, but
or watch in some other way, watch the perimeter, but not just from one position.
But he was a resource officer.
He was a sheriff's deputy for many. I believe it was upwards of close to 30 years.
Yeah, and how old was this guy?
I don't recall.
I don't know.
Old enough to know better.
I mean, obviously the guy was scared out of his mind.
Exactly.
Right.
And, he
didn't want to get shot.
He should probably not be in law enforcement anymore.
Exactly.
But
He had received training for going into these situations and clearing schools. It was documented and stated
Doesn't
he had
mean
received
he was
training.
going to put his life on the line.
But I'll tell you, the last thing we want in America is to be able to take laws and bend them, so that we can punish people that we're mad at. Maybe that's a one positive to look at is go, all right, well, you know what? They didn't. He didn't actually break the law they accused him of, and it was settled
The jury followed the
legally
law.
correct. Yeah, maybe that's a positive way to look at it.
But he has to live with this the rest of his life.
He does.
Well,
And that in itself is punishment in itself.
and I think there's a lot of tough guys out there that are, well, I would have done blah blah blah.
Well, he retired after the shooting, and then he was retroactively fired.
Right.
They took back his retirement.
Oh wow, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, and that's huge. But I mean, unless you've actually been in combat, don't be a
hard to
tough
judge.
guy and try to tell me what
Exactly.
you would do.
It's true.
Hey, is there a better tool that empowers a woman to defend against an attacker that's 100 pounds bigger?
Alicia?
Nope.
That's why it's so important for women to learn how to defend themselves with the most effective self-defense tool ever invented. For women led by women, the Not Me program is designed to help with training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It's free. Sign up, go to notmesd.org. And you know what you need to do?
What?
You need to
A lot
get
of things.
Desi to give us all a stack of Not Me SD business cards.
All right.
I can't keep writing them on pieces of paper.
I'll have her contact
Seriously.
you and get that all arranged.
Because
Not a
I
problem.
gave
We
it,
have literature.
I gave it to women 3 times, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at KUSI.
Yep, we have postcards. She has card. Well, absolutely.
Just one of
All the
business.
things.
I'll get
the
you.
things.
I'll get you all that.
I'm serious because I mean I do it all the time and
Yep.
yeah okay.
The other thing is, of course, that's the program that you're talking about where they actually do the work, and then we've also set up a 501c3.
Right.
Help us fund that 501c3 so that program can be even more successful, and that we're not punishing instructors and gun shops, who want to help, but they're the only ones, giving discounts or whatever. That money, when they give a discount or they give something for free, that money, it's coming out of their pocket.
Why don't we reach out to the gun manufacturers? I bet you they would back that program.
I think you're probably right. We are. We're in the midst.
Yeah. Rich?
Say again?
Rich?
Rich? What do you mean?
Well, tell him to get
tasking
off his
Rich.
butt to get out there and start reaching out.
That's not Rich's job.
Well, he could be.
Okay, so the gun violence, remember those listening sessions that we did a few months ago, and then they produced a report, and we talked about the report from the gun violence listening sessions and all the research that they did. They produced this report. It's like it's 204 pages long, 204 pages. And we talked a little bit about it last week. It truly, I believe, backfired on because the intention from Nathan Fletcher and some of the others on the board, the intention of this completely and totally skewed and biased research center that did this, and they were absolutely biased. It was not science. This was propaganda, but it backfired on them because it showed exactly what we talked about and what we've been talking about. Which number one is. Most of these are suicides. 70%, which is actually higher than the national average, are suicides. 30% are homicides, and a teeny, tiny, tiny fraction are other. And the homicides are the majority of the homicides. Homicide's not always illegal, right? Mm-hmm. A homicide could be if you use your gun defensively, and it's completely and totally legal to defend yourself. That is a type of homicide. But the majority of the homicides were illegal murders, and they talk a lot about it. Now, here's one thing from we talked earlier about going to La Mesa on Tuesday night. We need everybody to show up at City Hall in La Mesa. Dave, what's the address?
Hold it. Let me get you. I got on page 12.
I'll be there holding his hand.
8130 Allison in La Mesa, somewhere near the trolley.
Be there before 6 p.m. Sign up and say, "Hey, I want to speak." They'll give
Before
you 2
6
minutes.
p.m.?
Before 6 p.m. It starts at 6. You want to get there
didn't
before
tell me
6. Well, I mean, like 5:58. Like,
we
don't
going in
show
as
up
a
at
group?
6.
Are we going in as a group?
Nope. It's
And don't tell them where you live.
okay. So So what you want to do is you want to sign up and be a speaker. And here is a piece from this document that they produced. Some of the research they produced. Here's something that you want to maybe bring up and talk about. Safety with firearms. According to the CHIS survey, among adults with at least one firearm in the home in San Diego County, about 7.7%, which is about 29,000 adults, keep their gun loaded and unlocked, whereas most, 92.3%, which is 354,000 adults, reported they do not keep their gun loaded and unlocked. These firearm safety rates are approximately similar to San Diego County and the state of California, as illustrated on 7.7. So we're only talking. So what they're saying is they're trying to pass this law on everyone because 7%, less than 8% of people don't do what they want them to, which, by the way, isn't always improper, right? So the assumption is the assumption from this extremely biased, horrible firm is that 7.7% are doing something wrong or bad, and it is not necessarily wrong or bad to store your firearm in your home loaded and unlocked.
I can't believe that number's not higher because you can't tell where they got their information, and how do you justify it?
Yeah, exactly. But still, let's
I'll
go with their number,
I'll
right?
take it.
Let's
I'll
take
take
their
it.
number and use it against them.
Yeah.
We're talking about only 7.7% that do what they don't want us to do, which, by the way, isn't always improper.
Right.
And that narrative, is an important one. Hey, look, it's not always improper to store your firearm unlocked and loaded. That's not always bad. And that's the narrative they're trying to. So that's the assumption, right? Well, here, let's just put this out there. They didn't explain, like, hey, some people are doing it because of this, or hey, some people don't have kids in the home, or some people, whatever, right? They're just saying, oh, by the way, let's show this really unsafe statistic, which is only 7.7%, right? Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say here?
Absolutely.
But that's a one of these statistics from this 204-page document that we should use against them because their intention was to figure out more ways to ban and restrict our Second Amendment rights, and so let's use their document, which showed exactly what we've been saying. One of the things we ended on this piece of information last week. So this was a study where they looked at a 5-year period. It's 2017 to 2021, I believe. So they had these enormous numbers, right? This 30%, 70%, blah, blah, blah. One of the things we ended on was how many actual deaths are we even talking about? You remember that, Dave? You remember how many there were?
Not really.
1,300.
Wow. We're
only talking about 1,310. That's it. That's all we're talking about. Now, it is sad, tragic, and horrible anytime.
Even if it's one.
Even if it's one. That's sad, tragic, and horrible. Mm-hmm. But for them to conduct a study and to try to paint, a picture like this is an epidemic.
Well, if they said hundreds of thousands, it'd be a different story.
Even if we'd have gotten to, multiple thousand, we didn't even get to multiple thousand, 1,300 over 5 years. That's not 1,300 a year. That's 1,300 over 5 years.
Gosh, they lose that in 90 days in New York.
I was actually looking up. I haven't conclusively found it yet, but I think from what I'm seeing, I think this is like I was looking up to see these are similar numbers that we lose to like jaywalking.
Yeah,
it's not. And now San Diego's doing a lot better than California in general, and we're actually safer than most of the country, which is great. But the idea that some of the recommendations in here was to blow this whole thing up, create this big bureau,
right?
More bureaucracy.
Oh, of course, we need another bureau,
right? For this, but again, they're not trying to solve a problem here. What they're trying to do is paint the picture that guns and gun owners are unsafe. So, so 1,300, and then another about 1,367 are firearm-related injuries in San Diego County. This is 2016 through 2020, so this is a 4-year. 2017 through 2022 is the suicide and homicide rate, and then 1,367 was 2016 through 2020. I wonder why they use two different years there, two different chunks of years there. I'll bet you they were cherry picking a little bit. So anyway, not a lot, and which is good. That's something we want to be proud of in San Diego. Not a lot of, but they didn't mention anything. They didn't really talk about defensive gun uses much at all. The only reason I think that they added it is because we talked a whole lot about it. They talked about mass shootings and K through 12 school shootings, you know, and but again, this whole document really, really proves what we've been trying to say, that number one, you know, it isn't the epidemic. The violence isn't the epidemic that they're trying to paint it as. Number two, gun owners are generally extremely responsible and law-abiding, you know. And number three, that one of the solutions here is education and, yes, more guns. You know, that the more sane, trained, law-abiding people are able to defend themselves against the 30% which were homicides, the better. The better, period, full stop. And that's one of the things, you know, that we really emphasize with Not Me was, of course, trying to prevent sexual assault and domestic violence by making sure that women can defend themselves. Mm-hmm. And they actually talk a lot about that. There was a lot of feedback from the listening sessions where they said, hey, one of the things that we need to talk about is how to prevent, you know, violence. Mm-hmm. And this was one of the groups that was talked about, which is good. But they didn't really have a choice. They had to include that because we showed up and made sure that they had to include that, which was pretty big. So I don't know. Did you have a chance to look at the report?
I did. I looked. It's 204 pages. I didn't really have the patience to sit and just to digest it all, but I did browse. Do you have any impressions? Everything that you've already stated, I totally agree with, and all your observations. It's 204 pages.
Yeah.
It's
no
a lot
pictures?
of. There actually are lots of pictures, lots of graphs. There are charts and graphs, pie charts, line charts, every kind of.
Well, for 6 digits,
yeah,
it's better. Were they in color?
Yes,
there's some
yes,
color.
They are.
Well, and I'll tell you before we go, public listening session themes. The number one theme was support for gun rights. Does that make sense? So a theme in the listening sessions, in other words, what do people talk about most? Mm-hmm. The number one thing that people talked about most, they showed up and said, hey, we want to make sure that you support gun rights.
Hey, a lot of companies waste an enormous amount of money on marketing. The design is excellent, the photos are beautiful, and your website looks great, but it's just not getting customers. Why? Because you don't have the words that make people buy. But now you can fix that with Sage Tree. Sage Tree can help you find the words that make it easy for your customers to understand what you do and how to buy from you. Stop wasting money today and schedule a call. Getting started is real easy. Just visit sagetree.com and click on the schedule an appointment button. That's sagetree.com and click on the schedule a call button.
So we're talking about the report that was produced by these listening sessions, the gun violence reduction, and I wanted to read a couple other things from some of their appendix, some of the statistics that they have here, and let's see. Here's a good one right here. So Appendix 1, public listening session themes, causes of gun violence, in order of how many people spoke up and said, "Hey, this is what we think." Mental health, trauma, something obviously there because of San Diego County gun owners getting involved and saying, hey, you know, lack of family and social support. I think that's a very broad term of basically saying that, you know, criminals, you talk about, you know, people that don't have, you know, kids that don't grow up without parents, you know, kids that grow up with no structure, you know.
What was this category was what again?
Lack of family and social support is one of the,
was this specifically homicides or just gun violence?
Well, causes of gun violence.
Because I see my mind first went to suicide on that.
Oh,
do they kind of get specific as to their angle on that?
Not here. Lack of family and social support. I guess it could
go either way.
Go either way. Yeah. If you don't have, if you have a lack of family and social support, that could lead to suicide. It could also lead to, you know, being a career criminal. You can see that.
What if it doesn't?
What if it doesn't?
Yeah.
Then good.
Oh, just curious.
But I thought those were the two top ones, you know, which again, they wouldn't be there but for, you know, you fantastic listeners who went and showed up and said, hey, it's very important. Now, public listening session themes, solutions to gun violence. The number one solution, funding of community-based organizations. I think that's probably something everybody can agree on.
Yeah.
I think that pro Second Amendment folks and anti-gun people. By the way, let's talk about terminology for a second.
Yep.
We're not pro-gun. That's not what we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're pro Second Amendment.
Correct.
You know, we're not pro. It doesn't matter if it's a gun. It doesn't matter. We're pro Second Amendment because we want to be able to defend ourselves. You know, Second Amendment doesn't talk about guns. It talks about arms.
Mm-hmm.
So we are pro Second Amendment. Now, that doesn't mean the other side's anti-Second Amendment. The other side's just anti-gun.
Right.
That's all they are. They just don't like guns. So they're going after the inanimate objects. So you'll frequently hear me. Those are the two sides. You'll frequently hear me refer to pro-Second Amendment, us, and anti-gun, them. They have an irrational fear of guns, of firearms. And they're anti-gun is what they are, which I think is an important point. It's an important distinction to make. But whether you're pro-Second Amendment or anti-gun,
Mm-hmm.
funding of community-based organizations, I think, is something we can all agree on. Are we going to agree on exactly which organizations to fund?
Absolutely not.
Probably not. But one of the community-based organizations that came up, not me.
Mm-hmm.
Not me as a community-based organization, which, by the way, the county is already starting to fund, which is awesome.
Fantastic.
We're going to get a check from the county in probably about a month or so
Mm-hmm.
here.
Really?
Yeah. How about that,
It's
Dave?
amazing. You have to pay taxes.
No. It's going into a 501c3.
So you're going to lunch. We're going to lunch.
That's not how a 501c3 works.
Oh, you have to eat.
Second of these is youth mentorship. Youth mentorship. I think that
I think that's good.
that's another thing everybody can agree on.
Sure.
Right?
Kids growing up,
Yeah.
you know, and they either get the mental health support that they need so they don't become suicidal,
Right.
or they get the the life help that they need so that they don't become somebody that commits
I think of
homicide.
all those good stories that came out like Big Brother and Big Sisters. You know, just having that mentor.
There was another guy who's actually on KUSI over the weekend. His name's
what's his name?
Joe Sigurdson.
Yeah, he was on this morning or Saturday.
What's today? Sunday? I think he was on
He doesn't watch
yesterday
the
morning.
news. He doesn't watch
That's
the
right.
news.
You don't
He
watch
doesn't
the
know.
news. Why are you even talking to you? But he was there.
Yeah, Boys to Men is
Yeah,
the name of
Boys to
his
Men.
organization.
Great program.
Joe Sigurdson is a great dude. His program is wonderful, and they provide all kinds of support.
Right.
They basically go into a school and say, "Show us your, the 4 kids causing all the problems."
Right.
And guess what percentage of kids involved in his organization? The kids that are the problem kids that he helps. Guess what percentage do not have a father?
100.
99%.
Nah, it's 85%.
They
Wow.
were close.
Pretty close though. 85%.
I
That's a
thought
trend.
for sure you'd say 100.
Right?
Well, there's not. No.
But again, I think there's probably a lot of – I think that pro-Second Amendment and anti-gun folks could probably come together, and we probably wouldn't even argue over which youth mentorship programs that we'd be willing to fund. There'd probably be a couple that the pro-Second Amendment wouldn't want to fund. There's probably a couple that the anti-gun wouldn't want to fund. But in general, I'll bet you there's a lot of circles that overlap there.
But when Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts were flourishing, that had a lot to do with kids that didn't have fathers.
So Joe Sigurdson's group, Boys to Men, it's exactly what they do. It's very much like Boy Scouts.
Right.
They say, hey, for the one
You
thing.
just don't have to wear a uniform.
Well, you don't have to wear a uniform, but they sit down and talk, and they say, hey, here's some adults that are successful, and here's some problems that they had. Like, they get real honest, and say, hey, there's some problems that they had, and here's how they had to work it out or whatever. And then it gets the kids to open up, and all these kids are angry. All these kids are angry. They're like young teens, and they're just irate. They're mad that they don't have a dad. They're mad that the world hates them. They're mad, they're irate. And that starts to come out, and that's a little different from Boy Scouts. They didn't really do a lot of that in
No,
Boy
they don't do
Scouts.
any of it.
But what they did do in Boy Scouts is, hey, do these 5 things, and you can move
Right.
forward. Do these 5 other
Well, plus
things.
they keep the kids busy.
Keep them busy.
They don't sit around and waller in their
Give them an
in their
opportunity to
grief.
feel accomplished.
And they give them an opportunity to accomplish
Right.
something.
Merit badges.
And
all
those
sorts of
are, those are rites of passage, which is, I think, sorely missing in society today. And that's, I think that's extremely important. Other support programs for youth is another, the next one on the list. enforce the laws, including gun laws.
What a concept.
Don't we agree with that?
What a concept.
I don't agree with some of the gun laws, but I definitely, if you're committing violent crime with a gun.
So you mean if they were to enforce the laws on the books?
I don't even think you have to have a gun if you just enforce the laws.
Right.
Hey, I stole a bag of potato chips at a grocery store because I was on a dare. My buddy dared me. I couldn't get a.
Well, know, if the security people chase you now they get arrested.
Well, I know,
they get in trouble.
But no. And it wasn't a little bag. I had to get the big bag. Okay. And I got busted. And they called the cops. The cops called my dad, who was a police officer, handcuffed me, put me in the back seat, asked me if I ever stole.
How old were you? 8.
So guess what?
You never stole again.
Well, no. The only other no. The other I could tell you stories. He put me in jail for 12 hours one time. Handcuffed me.
Did it work?
Asked me if I've ever been in jail since.
I was going to say.
I mean, handcuffed me, fingerprinted me, put me in solitary confinement for 12, 13 hours.
Wow.
I was 9.
Wow.
And it was in with the bad boys. It wasn't in juvenile hall.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, enforce the laws, including gun laws, in parentheses. I think that is all extremely important. Enforce the laws. And there really is. There's a lot of statistics to prove exactly what, kind of what Joe's premise is. Joe Sigurdsson's premise of, show us the 3 or 4 boys that are committing all the, that are the hardest, having the hardest time in school. There's a lot of statistics to show that the vast majority of crimes are committed. If you look at the thousands of crimes that are committed, and break it down into different categories over the year, it's like dozens of people. It's a very small minority of people that are doing it.
What about girls?
I like them.
No. Oh. I mean, because there's a lot of gangs, girls. I mean, they're pretty brutal too. I wonder if they have a program for that.
I don't know.
Girls tend to have their outlet a little different. Boys that are struggling and having trouble, you tend to see them go more towards gangs and violence. Yeah. I think girls go more the sexual angle.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Really? Yeah, it's like every.
That's how they act out. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I see.
So here's the next one on the list. Extremely interesting. Gun safety education. Gun safety education. Now that's another indicator. That's so high on the list. That's another indicator that San Diego County Gun Owners showed up. Right. I don't think Moms One Action and Brady Organization they didn't show up and say gun safety education.
Did they even show up?
Well, not as much as we did, but they were there for sure. There were anti-gun folks there as well as the pro-Second Amendment folks. But gun safety education, extremely important. Big fan of that. But honestly, the statistics don't show that people are dying from gun wounds because they were not knowledgeable or they weren't safe. It's really not what's happening. It's not showing that. I would argue, if you're a professional criminal, if you're a gang member, learning gun safety isn't going to help you. That's not going to help statistics. Yeah. If you're committing suicide, which is the other category, the biggest category, learning gun safety is probably not going to help you. Does that mean it's not important? No, it's extremely important.
Sure. Incredibly important.
I also think that in kind of a less direct way, if you're teaching, especially kids, gun safety, you're teaching them respect for a firearm. I think there's a lot of kind of surrounding issue, that helps, teach a respect.
There is.
For life.
It's almost like a lot of that curiosity is taken away. So they learn to respect, they learn to understand it, they learn the appropriateness of it, and it no longer has that cool factor to where they want to be tempted to go in and do something they shouldn't do or be sneaky.
Yep. Responsibility.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and back in my day, I mean, I was taught gun.
Horse and wagon?
Yeah.
Buggy? Yeah.
But I was taught gun handling, at a very, very, very young age. And I learned to respect all the way up through the military and the whole 9 yards. But I started when I was little.
The next two, let me get real quick. Next two, higher criminal penalties, obviously pro-Second Amendment. Mental health support, obviously pro-Second Amendment. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we finally get to the 8th, which is GVROs.
What's that?
Gun violence restraining orders. Really the anti-gun crowd.
Oh, gotcha.
The first 8 we're us.
Yeah.
And that's important. Anyway, check it out. We'll probably send it out again. It's a good read, but
it's on the website.
It's not on the website. We'll send it out via email, but this is going to give us ammo for years to come. This thing backfired heavily.
It sounds like it.
Which is good.
Whoa! Gun prom tickets are on sale. Join San Diego County gun owners and the rest of the Second Amendment community at the Town and Country in Mission Valley. Get your fancy suits and dresses, shine your shoes, and join a whole lot of like-minded people that believe in the rights to self-defense. Second Amendment dinner is coming up on September 16th. Get your tickets now and reserve your spot for a night with great people, great food, drinks, and all for a great cause. And don't forget, you can get a table for all your friends. Oh, go to gunprom.com to get your tickets now. Buy a table. Oh, I already said that. And bring your friends and family. That's gunprom.com and buy your tickets today. Did I mention you can get a table?
Yeah.
A wine table? A champagne table?
Yes.
And don't you get raffle tickets with each table?
With the champagne table, you get raffle tickets.
You don't get any.
There's raffle tickets for purchase, but only champagne tables get raffle tickets.
Yeah.
Well, you got to get a champagne table.
I don't drink champagne. But I want tickets.
You can switch it
Bring
out. We had
friends that
somebody.
do.
What?
Bring friends that do.
We had somebody switch out. They said, "Well, I don't really want champagne. Can I do something else?" And they wanted whiskey, so it became a whiskey table.
Did you really?
Yeah, they wanted a whiskey.
Well, you didn't tell me that. So you weren't joking when I said vodka.
No, you really want a vodka table?
Sure.
All right, well,
No, then my wife won't drink.
tell Gail. Gail will work that out.
Gail will do anything.
Yeah, she's the best.
She's a wheeler dealer.
She's way better than that last executive director they had at that place.
I'm gonna have to grind on her then because I want raffle tickets.
You buy them there.
Well, no, I want you to give them to me.
No, that's not how that works.
You did last time because you muffed it.
No,
I tried to give you the money.
All right, what are we doing here?
I don't know.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm always done.
Goodness. Okay. All right, it's time for everybody's favorite segment, Stump My Nephew. My nephew, Sam, the gunman, turned out to be extremely good with gun trivia. So if you email us a question that has to do with gun trivia and we use it on the air, we'll give you a hat or a shirt. If you stump my nephew, you get a free ticket or tickets. I think we'll do 2 free tickets to Gun Prom. Go to gunprom.com to check it out, but it's September 16th. So if you stump my nephew, you'll get a hat or a shirt plus 2 free Gun Prom tickets. Sammy, there.
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, not bad.
How was your 4th of July?
It was good.
All right. What did you do? I know what you did, but tell everybody what you did.
We smoked a brisket, and I made some barbecue sauce.
Yeah, but what about how did you see fireworks?
From the air, from above.
Oh.
Wow, you went flying through all the sparklers?
Yeah.
Killer.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
It was cool. His pictures were beautiful. It's kind of a tradition. He comes from a flying family, and he's a pilot. He's been a pilot since.
Yeah, I know, since we've known him.
Yeah, since he could walk or whatever. So, all right. Okay, here's the question. Happy 4th of July. Question is, Steve from San Clemente, he wants to know, what caliber does the Arsenal Firearms DBDC shoot? What caliber does the Arsenal Firearms DBDC shoot? Delta Bravo, Delta Charlie.
Steve from beautiful San Clemente. Well, I'm assuming it's beautiful. I don't know.
It is. I've been there.
Okay. Steve from beautiful San Clemente, thanks very much for writing in. What caliber does the Arsenal Firearms DBDC shoot? Now, the only gun I'm familiar with that, there are a couple of companies that go by the name Arsenal. Is he talking about the Italian one?
Yes.
Okay. Because you also hear about Arsenal AKs out of Bulgaria, and it's a completely different company. There's no association. So Arsenal Firearms out of Italy, the only, or perhaps the most famous firearm I know that they have made is I don't even want to say double-barreled 1911, because it's basically 2 complete 1911s stitched together in 45 ACP. Is that what he's talking about?
That's what he's talking about.
Yes,
keep talking about it.
So they're weird to look at. You can find pictures online, and I guess there have been YouTube videos about them just because it's such a weird, wacky gun. And I think they only made it just to show that they could, just to show that their machining and their mechanical engineering was top notch. And it is, as I said, it's basically two complete 1911 actions stuck together side by side, two barrels. One slide, but two barrels, two hammers, two magazines even. The right side ejects out the right side, the left side ejects out the left side. So you're sending potentially 460 grains of lead and copper downrange with each trigger pull.
It always reminded me of the on The Empire Strikes Back, the ship the Cloud City ships where you have the two. They almost look like it was like the reverse of a P-38. You had the two pods, and then I don't know. Maybe Star Wars references isn't a good idea. Okay, so let me ask you this: What caliber does the
45 ACP?
And
well, being that it's Italian, I'm going to guess probably 38 Super or something.
How in the
That's it.
The DBDC stands for double barrel, double caliber. The Italian firearm, which looks like two 1911s welded side by side, shoots 45 ACP and 38 Super Auto. The gun fires 2 bullets per trigger pull. That's awesome. Good job.
Where if it kicks?
I don't know. It's pretty heavy.
I would imagine it does.
It's probably pretty heavy though. I mean, you got twice as much metal, know, even though you got twice the kick, you got twice as much metal. Honestly, I wonder how it must. Well, I guess the 1911 is pretty slim anyway, so it probably feels like you're holding a Glock with two magazines with two 1911 side by side. It's probably like holding one Glock. I don't know.
Yeah, I would imagine.
You ever held one? You ever seen one in person?
I have never run across one of these in person, just because they're so vanishingly rare. But I have held a Glock 21 in 45 and can attest that they're unnaturally wide.
That is a fact. My Glock 30, which is a 45, it's basically the same size as a Glock 19, but it's 45 caliber. My Glock 30, that's pretty. My Glock 30, I actually had Gunfighter Tactical here in San Diego shave it down so that they took a bunch of girth off the handle, and I said, take it down until it's just above structurally sound, and that did a ton of good. It's an old school 30. It's not the new slim frame. Slim frame, is that short frame? Slim, the SF, slim or short?
It's short frame, and it's shorter front to back, so it's not any slimmer.
So I took
still a double stack.
It's still, and I took it down, and that was way, way better. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, excellent job. You got it, as always, not stumped. So, Steve from San Clemente, you're going to have to pay for your gun prom tickets, but we will send you a hat or a shirt. The DBDC. Good, very good question, I thought. Was really good.
But don't go anywhere, Sam. I thought Dave had a follow-up question.
Do you have a follow-up question,
Yeah.
Dave?
I did.
Yeah, you did.
What
Did you already
is?
forget?
Yeah.
What was his follow-up question?
What was my follow-up?
I think we. Oh, yeah. Did you have
You
a
ask
movie?
it.
Yeah, go ahead.
You never finished it, so
right.
I don't know the whole thing.
Oh, I know.
All right.
All right.
You'll get another question.
All right. Sam.
Dave had a non. It wasn't exactly a firearm related question.
Wasn't
but
it?
I can't quite remember
Oh,
what it is.
I'm
So.
losing it.
All right. So what about your blog, Sam? What's the latest blog you got or article?
My most recent blog post from this past week was sort of a retrospective. Instead of my usual shtick, which is either talking about something that happened in a gun store that I thought was interesting or relevant, or talking about the current political situation, or talking about collecting. It's just sort of a broad retrospective on it. Well, it's called State of the Second Amendment. And I talk about kind of some important things that have happened in two-way political news in the past about 14 months or so, just over a year. And I talk about kind of where we are now and some big fights that we may be in the middle of right now, or that may be coming up in the future. So I just give my thoughts on that matter, and if anyone who is interested in reading about that can check it out on the SDCGO blog.
Awesome job. I really liked your blog about open carry. It got some chatter. I think a bunch of people, piped in or piped up and weighed in without even reading it. You could totally tell that they just saw the headline. They just saw the name.
By the way, the question that I was thinking of was My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, that's right.
Which you said was probably a show he loves.
Well, go for it. What was the question?
Well, it was, are you familiar with the movie?
I am familiar with it, but I've never seen it.
Okay.
That's right. I didn't know that. How did that happen?
You said he watched it.
No, I said that it is. I would imagine so because it's his grandfather's favorite movie in the whole world.
Is it really?
So I can't imagine how he's gotten 20. How old are you now? 24.
23.
23. He's gotten 23 years without my dad making him watch it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's his favorite movie.
I've seen it more times than I care to.
I think it's his favorite movie. It's at least top 5.
Yeah.
I think he was going to ask you what the proper timing is of
327.
Yeah.
In 1950.
I don't know. Not a car guy.
Yes, yeah, I know.
3 degrees below top dead center.
Exactly. That's not even close. But that's okay. What year Cadillac was in the movie?
As a 1957.
Nope.
I don't know.
66.
1966.
What can I tell you? I am the car guy. I'm car guy like you're the gun guy, kid.
I kind of am curious, how did the writers must have really thought that out. It's almost like they thought of that question and wrote a movie around it.
Well, they had to because, it was an incorrect question. So they had to really think that out to get the year of the car wrong. And
they totally messed it up?
Oh, yeah,
it wasn't even accurate?
That engine wasn't even available.
Way to ruin it for me, Dave.
Well, yeah.
I suppose you're going to tell me Santa Claus isn't real next.
Yeah, he's sitting right there.
All right, that's it. That's enough.
That's it. Hey, thanks, Sam. Have a great weekend or week.
Thanks for watching this episode from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns and the Second Amendment. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just do a search for Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Don't forget to support our sponsors. Click on the links in the show notes and support the businesses that support your Second Amendment rights. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.